The massive alien vessel appeared suddenly in Earth's atmosphere, casting a dark shadow over Seoul as it descended through the clouds. The ship's hull gleamed with an otherworldly metal that seemed to absorb and reflect light in impossible ways. People in the streets below stopped and stared upward, many recording the historic moment on their devices while others ran for shelter. Commander Park stood on the designated landing pad, his face carefully blank despite the fear churning in his stomach. Around him, Earth's hastily assembled diplomatic corps shifted nervously. They had prepared for this moment for only 3 days since the alien fleet was first detected entering the solar system. The ship settled onto the ground with surprising grace for its enormous size. A seam appeared in its seamless hull, widening into a doorway. 3 tall figures emerged, walking with fluid movements that seemed almost mechanical. "They don't look how I expected," whispered one of the diplomats. Commander Park gave a small shake of his head, silencing further comments. The central figure approached. It stood nearly 8 feet tall, its metallic skin catching the sunlight. Its face had features that seemed almost human-like, yet disturbingly different. "I am called Tae," the being spoke through a small device at what might be considered its throat. The name was clearly chosen for human ears. "I speak for the Galactic Hegemony." Commander Park bowed slightly. "Welcome to Earth. I am Commander Park, representing the United Earth Government." Tae made no gesture of greeting in return. "The hegemony has claimed this star system. Your species will submit to our authority immediately." A chill ran through the assembled humans. This was not the peaceful first contact they had hoped for. In the presidential palace, World President Kim watched the broadcast with growing horror. Her knuckles whitened as she clutched the edge of her desk. "They want what?" she asked, turning to her advisors. Defense Minister Lee stepped forward, his expression grim. "Annual tribute, Madam President. Resources including rare minerals, 20% of our technological advancements, and 10,000 human conscripts yearly to serve in their military forces." "And if we refuse?" President Kim asked, though she suspected the answer. "Non-compliance means planetary bombardment. Their fleet includes vessels capable of cracking our planet's crust. We've detected weapons that could render Earth uninhabitable within hours." The emergency UN session convened 6 hours later. Representatives from every nation and off-world colony filled the main chamber. The atmosphere was tense, filled with fear and anger. "We cannot possibly agree to these demands," the European Union representative shouted. "Handing over our citizens as conscripts? It's slavery." The ambassador from Mars stood, her voice steady despite the situation. "Their technology is centuries beyond ours. Their smallest scout ship could destroy our largest battlecruiser. We cannot fight them." Arguments erupted across the chamber. Some nations were already preparing to surrender. Others called for immediate military action, despite the hopelessness of direct confrontation. In a quiet corner of the chamber, Director Song of the Global Space Agency leaned toward Admiral June. "Perhaps we don't have to fight them directly," Director Song whispered. Admiral June raised an eyebrow. "What are you suggesting?" "Humanity has always been adaptable. When a stronger force threatens, sometimes the best response is not to stand and fight, but to survive another way." Thousands of miles away, in a secure bunker beneath Mount Sobek, a team of Earth's brightest minds had already begun work on calculations that would later become Operation Exodus. Dr. Min, the lead physicist, looked up from her computer with wide eyes. "It's possible," she said to no one in particular. "We could actually do it." Her colleague, Engineer Day, leaned over to look at her screen. "Build ships big enough to carry millions of people? Where would we even construct something like that?" "The far side of the moon," Dr. Min replied. Away from their watching eyes. Back in Seoul, Commander Park faced Tae again, this time with President Kim at his side. "We will need time to organize these tributes," President Kim said, the words bitter in her mouth. "You have 60 Earth days to deliver the first installment," Tae replied. The hegemony is not known for patience or leniency. As the alien delegation returned to their ship, President Kim turned to Commander Park. Her eyes held a determination that hadn't been there before. "Get me secure communication with all military and scientific leaders," she ordered quietly. "We have work to do." "Yes, Madam President," Commander Park replied. "What should I tell them is the objective?" President Kim watched the alien ship rise into the sky. "Tell them we're not surrendering Earth. We're just changing the battlefield." The secret underground laboratory beneath Mount Hala hummed with activity. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock, their faces showing both exhaustion and determination. At the center of the main research chamber, Dr. Hannah Beck stood before a holographic display showing complex equations and spacecraft designs. "The dark matter drive is theoretically sound," she explained to General Du, who watched with arms crossed. "We can bend space in ways the hegemony might not be able to track. With enough resources, we could build generation ships capable of reaching the Tau Ceti system." General Du frowned. "Can we hide this from the hegemony? Their surveillance technology is everywhere." "We'll have to," Hannah said firmly. "Operation Exodus must remain completely secret while appearing to comply with their demands." The general nodded slowly. "How many ships? How many people can we save?" Hannah manipulated the display, showing massive vessel schematics. 20 ships, each carrying 50,000 people. 1 million humans to start a new colony far from hegemony control. "Only 1 million out of billions," General Du said quietly. "It's better than none," Hannah replied. "And it's all we can manage with our resources and time constraints." That evening, World President Kim addressed the Security Council in a meeting so secret that no records were kept. "The public face of Earth will appear to submit," she explained. "Meanwhile, we build our escape vessels and select the colonists. Every nation will have representation based on population and needed skills." Defense Minister Lee raised his hand. "The hegemony observers are watching everything. How do we hide ships of this size?" President Kim nodded to Director Song, who activated a presentation. "We build in plain sight. The hegemony has demanded we construct processing facilities for the resources they're taking. We'll build the ships as part of those facilities." In orbit, Engineer Hyun directed construction teams disguised as tribute preparation workers. The massive hull sections were assembled under the guise of resource processing plants. When hegemony observers approached, sections were quickly covered with false panels showing industrial equipment. "Move those shield generators inside," Hyun ordered as a hegemony ship approached for inspection. "Make this look like a refinery." The workers scrambled to hide the true nature of their project. Minutes later, 2 tall hegemony officials glided through the facility, scanning everything. Engineer Hyun maintained a respectful but submissive posture as he led the tour. "This facility processes your tribute metals, honored ones," he explained. "We are working at maximum capacity to meet your demands." The hegemony officials seemed satisfied, though one paused near a bulkhead that concealed a nearly completed life support system. For a tense moment, Hyun thought they were discovered. Then the alien moved on. Back on Earth, the secret selection process began. Doctors, engineers, farmers, teachers, people with skills needed for a new colony were quietly approached. Many had to make the heartbreaking decision to leave family members behind. "My parents are too old for the journey," Dr. Jean told her colleague as they packed medical supplies disguised as tribute goods. "They understand why I must go. It doesn't make it easier." In a secure facility under the Pacific Ocean, military personnel trained the civilian security forces who would protect the colony ships. Captain Day watched as his recruits practiced with weapons significantly less advanced than what Earth's military actually possessed. "We're sending our best weapons with you," he told them. "But the hegemony can never know we kept these technologies secret." 3 months into the preparations, Captain Day received an urgent message from Lunar Command. "The hegemony observers are getting suspicious. They've requested access to the secure sections of the lunar facilities." Minister Lee received the warning during an emergency cabinet meeting. "Stall them," he ordered. "We need 3 more months to complete the fleet." "How?" Captain Day asked. "Tell them we're preparing a special tribute." Rare isotopes that require careful handling. Anything to buy time. In her laboratory, Dr. Hannah worked without sleep for days, finalizing the dark matter drive designs. When engineer Hyun arrived with news of the hegemony's growing suspicions, she simply nodded and continued working. "We'll be ready," she assured him. The first 5 ships can launch within 2 weeks if necessary. On the moon's dark side, the massive ships took final form. Hidden from Earth and casual observation, they represented humanity's greatest achievement and last hope. Supply ships disguised as mining vessels delivered the last components needed. During a rare break, engineer Hyun stood by a viewport, looking out at the stars that would soon become humanity's path to freedom. Behind him, thousands of workers assembled the vessels that would carry human civilization beyond the hegemony's reach. "How much longer?" asked a young technician working nearby. "Not long now," Hyun replied, hope and fear mixing in his voice. "The hard part will be leaving without them noticing until it's too late." Little did he know how soon that moment would come. The emergency alarm blared throughout the lunar base, its harsh sound cutting through the usual hum of machinery. Colonel Sook's voice crackled over the communication system, tension evident despite the static. "They know. Hegemony warships are approaching the lunar shipyards. 3 vessels on direct intercept course." Workers abandoned their stations and ran for their assigned evacuation zones. The secret that Earth had kept for nearly a year had finally been discovered. The hegemony had realized that humanity was planning to escape rather than submit. In the command center of the lunar base, Admiral June watched the approaching hegemony vessels on the tactical display. Their weapons systems were powering up. There was no time left for preparations or careful planning. "Launch now," he ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "All ships. Ready or not." The order raced through communication channels to all construction sites. Engineers began emergency launch procedures. On ships still missing components, crew members sealed off incomplete sections, sacrificing capacity for survival. The massive generation ships, 12 in total rather than the planned 20, broke free from their moorings. Construction scaffolding fell away as engines powered up. Some vessels still had exposed framework where hull plates hadn't been installed. Others lacked full life support systems or crew quarters. But they could fly, and right now, that was all that mattered. Lieutenant Jean stood on the bridge of the flagship Hope, watching as status reports flooded in from the other vessels. Thunder and Lightning reporting successful launch, called the communications officer. Horizon has engine trouble but is moving. Destiny, Courage, and Promise are clear of the dock. Freedom reports hull breach in Section 12, sealing now. Jean looked at the captain's empty chair. The ship's commander was trapped on Earth during a supply run and would never make it back in time. As second in command, the responsibility now fell to her. "Report on the hegemony vessels," she ordered. 3 capital ships approaching from Earth orbit," replied the tactical officer. "Weapons hot. They'll be in firing range in 4 minutes." Jean took a deep breath and sat in the captain's chair. "Full power to engines. Prepare the dark drive for activation the moment we clear lunar orbit." Earth's remaining military vessels, a small fleet of outdated cruisers and fighters, moved to intercept the hegemony warships. They were hopelessly outmatched, but every second they could delay the aliens was another second for the Exodus fleet to escape. "Earth Defense Fleet is engaging the hegemony," reported the communications officer. "Message from Admiral June, Godspeed and remember us." Lieutenant Jean felt tears threatening but blinked them away. There would be time for grief later. Now was the time for action. "Tell the fleet to form up. We jump together once clear of lunar gravity." On the viewscreen, the first flashes of battle appeared as Earth's defenders engaged the superior alien forces. A cruiser exploded in brilliant light, taking a hegemony fighter with it. "They're buying us time," Jean whispered, watching brave men and women sacrifice themselves so that a fragment of humanity might survive elsewhere. The Hope shuddered as a stray shot from the battle clipped its outer hull. "Damage report," Jean called. "Minor damage to outer plating," came the reply. "All systems operational." "Dark drive status?"
Drive charging. 90%. We need 2 more minutes to clear lunar gravity. Those 2 minutes stretched like hours. Another Earth vessel disappeared in a flash of light. A hegemony capital ship turned its attention toward the fleeing colony vessels. The tactical display showed enemy weapons powering up, targeting the Exodus fleet. Dark drives at full charge, reported the engineer. Ready to engage on your mark. All ships, Jean broadcast to the fleet. Prepare to jump on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Engage. The dark drives activated across all 12 vessels simultaneously. Space itself seemed to bend around them as physics were warped in ways that defied conventional understanding. Stars streaked and blurred as the Exodus fleet accelerated beyond conventional physics. Pilot Munn gripped his controls tightly. Dark drive stable. Course locked for Tau Ceti. Behind them, Earth grew smaller on their view screens, a blue dot sacrificed so humanity might survive elsewhere. Many on the bridge watched in silence as their homeworld faded from view. Some wept openly. Others stood in solemn salute. Lieutenant Jean allowed herself one last look before turning her attention to the challenges ahead. Ship status, she asked. Life support at 82% efficiency. Hull integrity at 94%. Population modules at 112% capacity with refugees from incomplete vessels. Jean nodded. Begin rotation for artificial gravity. Activate cryogenic systems for long-term passengers. Set up work details for completing construction in transit. As the stars blurred around them, the 12 ships carried humanity's future into the unknown. Behind them, Earth faced the wrath of the hegemony, having defied the Empire's demands in the most dramatic way possible. We made it, whispered the communications officer. We've only just started, Jean replied, looking forward to the stars that would be their home for the next 40 years. Our journey is just beginning. 40 years passed aboard the Exodus fleet. Children were born, elders died, and an entire generation grew up knowing only the confines of the massive generation ships. They heard stories of Earth, saw pictures and videos, but never experienced the feel of natural gravity or open sky. When the long-range sensors finally detected their destination, crowds gathered at the observation windows. Tau Ceti glowed in the distance, its light growing stronger each day. Hope's bridge was packed as they entered the system. It's beautiful, Captain Sun whispered as they approached the third planet, a blue-green jewel against the blackness of space. Sun had been born aboard ship and had trained all her life for this moment. Orbit was established, and survey teams dispatched to the surface. The planet had breathable air, drinkable water, and soil that could support Earth plants with some modification. No intelligent life was detected, though simple animal and plant species thrived across the world. After weeks of testing, the first landing party prepared to set foot on what they would name New Terra. Director Kwan, a stern woman whose parents had been engineers on the original Hope, led the first landing team. She had spent decades preparing for this moment. As the shuttle doors opened, she took a deep breath of alien air, feeling natural sunlight on her face for the first time in her life. Begin construction of Landing Base Alpha, she ordered, pushing aside her emotional response to focus on the mission. I want shelter established before nightfall. The first settlement grew quickly. Prefabricated structures were assembled while teams surveyed the surrounding land. Within a month, 1,000 colonists had moved from the ships to the surface. Within a year, that number had grown to 50,000. They named their first city New Sol, in honor of the city where humanity had first encountered the hegemony. The soil responds well to our modified crops, Agricultural Chief G reported during a council meeting 2 years after landing. She placed fresh fruits and vegetables on the table, the first harvest grown entirely on New Terran soil. Yield is 20% higher than projected. We can expand the farms next season. Not everything went smoothly. A strange fungus infected some of the livestock, causing several deaths before Dr. Han developed a treatment. Unusual weather patterns in the northern continent destroyed an experimental settlement. 3 children were lost when they wandered too far from the colony and encountered one of the planet's larger predators. Yet humanity persevered, applying lessons learned on Earth and innovations born of necessity.
By the fifth year, New Sol had grown into a proper city with permanent buildings replacing the prefabricated structures.
2 more settlements had been established on different continents. Defense Minister Yoon oversaw the adaptation of recovered hegemony technology.
During the escape, the fleet had managed to capture data from hegemony systems.
Engineers had spent decades studying this information during the journey.
Our shield technology now exceeds what they used against Earth, she announced to the Council during the colony's 5th year.
If the hegemony finds us, we will be able to defend ourselves better than before. In the mountains north of New Sol, miners discovered unusual crystal formations that revolutionized their energy systems.
Engineer Ben held one of the crystals up to the light during a presentation to colony leaders. These crystals can store and amplify energy in ways we never imagined, he explained. With this technology, we can power our colony indefinitely and develop weapons capable of deterring even hegemony warships. By the 10th year, the colony had grown to over 300,000 people. More ships had been built in orbit, smaller and faster than the original Exodus fleet, designed for exploration and defense rather than colonization. Captain Ryu commanded the first of these vessels, the Scout. We've mapped the entire system, he reported after returning from a 3-month mission.
No signs of hegemony presence within 50 light-years. We appear to be in an unexplored region of space. This news brought both relief and determination to the colonists.
They could build their civilization without immediate fear of discovery, but they never forgot the threat that might one day find them again. As the decades passed, New Terra developed its own culture, blending the traditions of old Earth with new customs born of their unique situation.
Children played in parks under an alien sun, while scientists worked to understand their new home's complex ecosystem. On the 25th anniversary of the landing, the citizens of New Terra gathered in the central plaza of New Sol. Director Kwan, now in her 70s, stood before the crowd. We came here as refugees, she said, her voice strong despite her age. Today we stand as the founders of a new human civilization. We honor those we left behind on Earth, and we build toward a future where humanity will never again be threatened with subjugation. The crowd cheered as a monument was unveiled, a replica of Earth crafted from New Terran stone, standing atop a pedestal inscribed with the names of those who had sacrificed themselves during the Great Escape. What none of them knew was that far away, plans were already forming that would bring humanity back into contact with the stars they had fled. 75 years after the Exodus, New Terra had grown into a formidable civilization. Cities sprawled across 3 continents. Orbital stations circled the planet, and a fleet of warships patrolled the system. The descendants of Earth's refugees had built something remarkable, a society that combined the best of human culture with technological advancements that surpassed even what the hegemony had possessed when they threatened Earth. Fleet Admiral Bach stood on the bridge of the warship Vengeance as it approached the edge of the Sol system. At 53, he had spent his entire life on New Terra, raised on stories of Earth and the Great Escape. Now, he was leading the first mission back to humanity's birthplace. All systems ready, Admiral, reported his executive officer. Stealth systems active. The hegemony should not detect our approach. Admiral Bach nodded, his eyes fixed on the viewscreen showing the distant yellow star that was Sol, the sun that had warmed humanity for thousands of years before they were forced to flee. Proceed with caution, he ordered. I want sensor sweeps of the entire system. The Vengeance and its escort of 5 warships moved slowly through the outer reaches of the solar system. Their engines, based on refined dark drive technology, left no energy signature that hegemony sensors could detect. They passed Neptune and Uranus without incident, finding no signs of alien presence. Approaching Mars, sir, the navigation officer reported. No orbital structures detected. The colonies appear abandoned. Admiral Bach frowned. Continue approach. Take us to Earth. Science Officer June worked at her station as they neared Earth orbit. Her instruments scanned the planet that no human had seen in 75 years. Scans confirm Earth is largely abandoned, she reported, unable to keep the sadness from her voice. Major cities are in ruins. Hegemony mining operations have stripped many resource-rich areas. Air quality is poor but still within human tolerance.
Population readings suggest fewer than 10 million humans remain, mostly in scattered communities.
The bridge fell silent as the crew absorbed this information.
Earth, once home to billions, now a shadow of itself.
And the hegemony presence? Admiral Bach asked.
Minimal, June replied.
One orbital station, lightly manned.
It appears they've taken what they wanted and moved on.
Admiral Bach's jaw tightened. Typical Empire behavior. Extract resources, leave ruins.
He turned to his tactical officer.
What's the status of the nearest hegemony outpost? Alpha Centauri system, sir. Standard outpost with approximately 20 ships and 5,000 personnel.
It's their forward base for this sector.
Admiral Bach considered this information.
The plan had been reconnaissance only. To gather intelligence and return to New Terra. But seeing Earth's condition had stirred something in him and his crew.
Set course for the Alpha Centauri system, he ordered.
Battle stations.
The new Terran battle fleet struck the hegemony's outpost with devastating precision.
The surprise was total.
Hegemony ships were caught in dock, unprepared for combat.
The Vengeance's advanced weapons cut through alien defenses as if they were paper. Their shields are no match for our crystal-powered weapons, the tactical officer reported with satisfaction.
2 enemy cruisers destroyed.
Their command station is hailing us.
Put them through, Admiral Bach ordered.
The screen filled with the image of a hegemony commander, its metallic features showing what might be shock. Unknown vessels, you have committed an act of war against the galactic hegemony.
Surrender immediately. Admiral Bach stood, facing the alien directly. We are not unknown. We are humanity. You demanded tribute from Earth 75 years ago. We refused and escaped. Now we have returned.
The commander's features shifted.
Impossible.
The human rebellion was crushed. Their ships were destroyed.
Clearly not all of them, Admiral Bach replied coldly.
Your outpost is now under our control. A message is being transmitted to your central command.
Humanity is back, and we will no longer be subjects.
Within 6 months, humanity had reclaimed 5 star systems, including Sol.
Earth's scattered communities welcomed their long-lost cousins with awe and celebration. Reconstruction efforts began immediately.
The hegemony, caught off guard by this unexpected threat from a supposedly subjugated species, struggled to mount an effective response. Their empire, spread across thousands of systems, had grown complacent and bureaucratic. In the new government hall built in restored New Sol on Earth, President Rin received the hegemony ambassador. The alien diplomat trembled slightly as it approached her desk. Your military actions are impressive, the ambassador admitted. The High Council wishes to discuss terms.
President Rin studied the alien calmly. Your ancestors once demanded tribute from Earth.
Now we offer a different arrangement.
Mutual recognition in peace, or we continue dismantling your empire one outpost at a time.
The hegemony has never negotiated with subject races as equals, the ambassador protested weakly. Then it's time they learned, President Rin replied.
We are not asking for your permission. Earth and her colonies are free.
Accept this reality, or face the consequences. The Treaty of New Sol was signed 1 month later.
The hegemony recognized humanity's independence and sovereignty over reclaimed territories. In return, humans agreed to cease their attacks on hegemony outposts. As the document was signed, Admiral Bach stood with his officers, watching the ceremony. Is this what we fought for? Asked his executive officer. Just to be left alone? Admiral Bach shook his head. This is just the beginning. Humanity once fled to the stars.
Now we'll claim our place among them, not as subjects or tributes, but as equals.